welcome to another episode of Big Honey Sports. We are live in the studio. As you know by now, that is our apartment. I'm here with my partner, G-Rock. How you doing, G-Rock?
I'm doing just dandy. How are you?
I am swell.
Yeah.
Swell. It's a good day. It's nice outside, and we're stuck indoors. So,
of course,
today on the podcast, we're going to talk a little bit about Cam Newton's best landing spots. Maybe some predictions for the Broncos season upcoming. We're going to predict their record. We're going to make our ultimate running back. We saw Melvin Gordon do this. We wanted to take our shot at building the ultimate running back. We're going to talk a little bit about fantasy, which position you should probably draft with your first pick. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to do some fantasy matchups, see who's going to have the better year out of a couple position groups here.
Yeah, just a little bit of, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, because, there's not too much to talk about right now.
Yeah, so we're going to try to make this fun for everybody.
Yeah. So, what is going to happen with Cam Newton? Okay, because Cam Newton is still unsigned. It's been 3 weeks, probably 2 weeks.
I don't know how long it's been exactly, but a former MVP that took his team to the Super Bowl is out of a job. He's only like 31 years old.
It's crazy, man. I don't know what his stats are, but you were telling me the other day he's got some. What was he, like 31st out of the 30?
So they showed the stats on ESPN, and out of 39 quarterbacks, his highest ranking was 30th in some of the statistics. So it's not just us saying Cam Newton sucks. There's numbers to back it up.
Yeah, there's statistics to back up the data.
So with that, we're gonna start. Who do you think Cam Newton goes to? What is the best fit?
Looking at those teams, I like the Chargers because Chargers already got somebody who kind of is like Cam Newton, Tyrod Taylor, and I feel like maybe if you add both of them, you can tailor your whole offense around in case one of them gets injured, or vice versa. You can see which one's going to do better in that scheme. So I would think that Cam Newton's going to go to the Chargers. Chargers also, they tried to get Tom Brady. They wanted a veteran. They don't. It sounds like they don't want to have to get a brand new guy. That's why they brought in Tyrod Taylor. But they were also going to bring in Tom Brady, and they couldn't. So it just tells me that they're maybe still fishing. I don't know what the Patriots are doing. They're on that list. I have no idea what they're doing. The Jaguars, Minshew Mania, or whatever the hell they call it, Minshew Magic, whatever. It's stupid because he's not that good. And then you got the Redskins. I don't see the Redskins trying it out. What about you?
So out of this list, I would go with the Chargers as well. Kind of like what you said. You have two similar types of quarterbacks. Mainly the Chargers because none of these other ones make sense to me. Mm-hmm. Jaguars, they just got rid of Nick Foles, so Gardner Minshew could be the guy. They're not going to bring in Cam Newton. The Patriots, that one's kind of interesting. I could see it just because I think right now all they have is Jarrett Stidham.
And Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, and Brian Hoyer. He doesn't count. And then the Redskins, the only interesting one about that is that Ron Rivera is their coach now, who coached Cam Newton his whole career, I'm pretty sure. So
I was thinking about that too.
So there's a chance that he could go to Washington, but they just drafted Dwayne Haskins, and you can't give up on him after one season.
Exactly. And to go along with that point, Ron Rivera left the Carolina Panthers for a reason, right?
He got fired.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, he got fired. Okay. Well, did he like Cam Newton? Doesn't sound like
I'm sure he liked Cam Newton. He just Cam Newton wasn't healthy.
Exactly. I don't think that he would bring him back. I don't know. But is there a mystery team up that isn't up there that you would think might take a shot on him?
So I've seen a couple reports, and I'm not sure why, linking the Broncos. Couple reports now at this point.
That's weird.
I know, and I don't see it. They have Drew Lock going into his second year. They just brought in Jeff Driscoll. Not saying he's good, but that's a backup. You don't sign someone to a 2-year deal just to bring in another quarterback in free agency.
Have 3 quarterbacks on your roster? Who was the team that wanted 3 quarterbacks on their roster?
Who's the team that?
Oh, it was the Raiders. That's who you're talking about.
Oh yeah, I saw the Raiders were having a meeting with Justin Herbert from Oregon after they just signed Mariota and they have Derek Carr.
Yeah, they're stupid. The Raiders are stupid. If there's another mystery team up there that isn't up there, I should say.
What is your mystery team?
I have no idea. I really think the Chargers are at the top of the list. I don't know how long Cam Newton's not going to have a job, which is another question you could ask. How long is this guy actually not going to be signed? Like, it's kind of weird how we're this deep into it. He's still up there.
He posted a video of him working out. By the way, that dude is jacked.
Yeah, he's
Cam Newton's freaking huge.
Yeah, he's a pretty big dude.
But all the comments were hilarious. They were talking about, like, he was working out to gospel music. Yeah, and they were saying, like, watch out. This man's listening to gospel music while he's working out. He's about to come back and destroy the league. No, he's not. But it was just funny to see. So, yeah, we both have Cam Newton to the Chargers.
We sure do. Well, Cam Newton. What about Jameis Winston? Let's just piggyback on that real quick.
I have no idea.
No, Jameis Winston. Well, it sounds like he's not going to have a job.
He's going to have a job. I just don't.
As a backup.
Yeah, I can't even think about where he might go. Because I feel like the Patriots could sign him. Like, why not? You signed Brian Hoyer.
I don't know what they're doing, man.
Why would you not go for Jameis Winston? I know he's going to be demanding more money than Brian Hoyer, but it's like
you can probably
he's also better than Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, you could clean him up too with Bill Belichick's system.
Maybe. So it'll be interesting on the Cam Newton front.
Yeah. Well, now let's move on to the Broncos. They've had a stellar offseason, as we talked about in last week's episode. This is their new high-powered offense. We have the quarterback, Drew Lock, quarterback of the future, crossing our fingers that is the case. It seems promising. He seems different than the rest of our past experiments. We got Melvin Gordon. We talked about that a little bit. Did we talk about that on the last show, or was that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did.
And then you got the 1-2, so the 1-2 combo with Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon. Philip Lindsay could turn into an Austin Eckler kind of running back. And then you've got Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant. Now there's a little bit of a space there. Who do the Broncos need to get to make that offense even better?
They need another receiver.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's coming in free agency at this point. I don't know who you would go after or who you're going to trade for. They're going to probably, my best guess would be that they're going to draft one at number 15.
Really? Yeah.
Whether that be CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs. Yeah, those are my two predictions. One of those two guys.
It's interesting.
Yeah, they need another receiver because right now I think their second string receiver is Deshaun Hamilton.
Yeah, he's not going to.
So you need someone opposite of Cortland Sutton.
The one guy we were thinking might go to the Broncos, Robbie Anderson. He didn't. He went to the Panthers. Yeah. Don't know what that does, but
so when we're taking a look at this team and the additions they've made, I kind of wanted to predict the record going into this season.
Right.
Schedule, we looked at it. The home schedule is pretty tough.
Yeah.
You have the Titans, the Bills, the Dolphins. You have the Saints, Buccaneers, Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders. So you're looking at Pat Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees all coming to Denver.
That's epic.
That's pretty sick. Cool. That's pretty sick.
Tom Brady.
You also have the return of Emmanuel Sanders, which will be kind of cool.
Yeah, and a nice black and gold uniform.
Yeah, and then the road games, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head because I just looked at this. Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Panthers, Jets, Steelers, Patriots, and there's one other road game. So the road schedule does appear to be a little easier.
Which is good. That is good news.
I guess I'd rather have that.
But they really do have a pretty tough schedule given the rest of the league, I would think. I mean, they're going to play a couple Hall of Fame quarterbacks, future Hall of Famers.
And obviously you didn't know that going into free agency that Tom Brady was going to sign with Tampa Bay, so you can't really say that. But we still had Mahomes and Breeze on the schedule.
Yeah. We don't play the Colts, you said, right?
I don't believe so.
That would be kind of cool to play Phillip Rivers in a Colts uniform, destroy him. But
what is the Broncos' record going to be when it's all said and done in the regular season?
Well, you got to answer that question first.
I'm going to go 10-6.
10-6.
10-6. You have to at least split your divisional games, at least, because when I was calculating in my head yesterday, I came up with like 8 or 9 wins. So, but that's with just splitting your divisional games. Obviously, if you take 2 from someone, 2 from another person, and then
it's a lot more favorable.
Yeah. So I'm going 10-6. Like I said, it's helpful that all the tougher games, at least as of right now, obviously we don't know how the season's going to play out.
Yeah.
But all the apparently tough games are going to be at home, most of them. So
It gives you a good edge.
it does, especially in Denver.
We also don't know what Tom Brady is going to look like, or Drew Brees. Like, they could have regressive years. You know what I mean?
They could, yeah. Like I said, we don't know anything. This is all too early predictions.
Oh yeah, of course.
So much
Way
can
too
happen.
early.
So much can happen from now to
Yeah.
the preseason. Someone could tear their ACL. Like, we don't know.
Yeah, but it's just, and the draft is coming up, which
The
is gonna
draft
be
is
huge.
coming up.
With that in mind, I agree with your record. I'm going to give them one more W though, and give them at 11-5. I think the Broncos, they have a good chip on their shoulder, and I think it's kind of a prove it year for the offense, especially. I think the defense is kind of what it is.
The
I think
defense
they could be a lot better if the offense just picks it up.
The defense improved under Vic Fangio last year. You could see it. Mm-hmm. It started off, obviously, like 3-4 weeks without a sack or a turnover.
Yeah, Vaughn was like doing
But
nothing.
the more comfortable they got, they were very good down the stretch. So now you have another year in that system. You add A.J. Bouye, Jarrell Casey.
Steal, of course. We already talked about that. It's a steal.
And then
A.J.
just another
Bouye,
year in the system.
Yeah, I think both of those guys would fit in the scheme pretty well, too.
And A.J. Bouye talked about it. Vic Fangio, this isn't the first time he's tried to go after A.J. Bouye.
Yeah, he obviously knows he likes him.
A.J. Bouye said it feels good to feel liked and wanted.
Yeah.
So I feel like A.J. Bouye, he has a chip on his shoulder a little bit because he did not have a good season.
Well, he's going to be the guy that's replacing Chris Harris Jr. What do you
Yes.
think he wants to do? He wants to replicate what Chris Harris Jr.
He's
did.
going to, yes.
Or do better. I think he's going to be fantastic. But the offense, as I said, they're going to be a lot better.
It will be.
And as long as we get another wide receiver or some other weapon to complement the already plethora of weapons we have, Drew Lock, he's going to be good. I don't think he's going to have. He might throw some interceptions. He might,
and
have
that's
some interceptions.
that comes
and
with
stuff.
him playing, and he's a gunslinger.
Yeah, he's a rookie. Like
He's gonna throw interceptions.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be very frustrating at times, but he's gonna take chances on throws that we haven't seen since
years.
Peyton Manning was here.
Yeah.
He's gonna take chances on throws that Joe Flacco or Trevor Siemian or Case Keenum would have checked down.
Yeah, it's
So
really
honestly, I'm okay with that because I just want to see someone try.
Yeah. I think they're going to go 11-5, like I said, and I don't know what the Chiefs have done in their offseason. We can talk about that some other time, but I do think the Broncos have a chance because there's no Chargers anymore like they were anything last year. But if they had Phillip Rivers still, they could do something. But I don't think I think they're like an 8-8 team.
Probably.
And the Raiders, like what the hell are the Raiders doing? It's a dumpster fire.
They did a lot of. They were pretty active in free agency, but there wasn't a ton of big names.
Yeah, they got
necessarily
Jason Witten. Whoever the hell
they
else
got.
they got.
They got two good linebackers, and they got Mariota.
It's just.
But
they don't look like a team with an identity.
To this list, you could also add Dalton Reisner and Graham Glass. I don't know how to say it. Glasgow or whatever. Yeah, because those are two young guys to shore up the offensive line. So pretty good young core on offense for the Broncos.
Yeah, and so they'll easily finish second, like they did last year. I think the Broncos.
I believe that, yes.
Will finish second, and I think there's a chance. I don't know what the Chiefs' schedule is, but the Chiefs could have a regressive year because a lot of times the Super Bowl winners or people that go to the Super Bowl, they just have a hangover, and I think the Chiefs are a team that could really easily have a hangover with Tyree. Their team is good. But they got a lot of people with like some big attitudes on that team, and they could get a little too cocky, and all of a sudden you're looking at 4 losses. All of a sudden, I don't know. So I think the Chiefs are, they're good. They're going to be good, but depending on their schedule, they could have a hangover, and the Broncos might just be able to slip into that number 1 for the AFC West. I think they're easily the favorites to upset the division, I guess. Because the Chiefs, how many years is it now? 4 or 5? It's really annoying, though.
I don't know.
It's time. This is how sports works. It's time that somebody takes that division. So I think there's a good chance it happens. 11-5 for the Broncos. You say 10-6.
10-6. I'm saying 10-6 wild card.
Okay. And, yeah, I would say, if If they don't make the playoffs, it's going to be really disappointing.
I think 10-6 is their max. That's their max out, and they'll go get a wild card spot. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be really interesting. I think that if they don't make the playoffs, it's going to be really disappointing.
I think it will be, because 4-1 last year under Drew Lock, went from last to second place, finished 7-9.
Gave everyone something to cheer about.
Exactly, something to look forward to.
Let's move on to our ultimate running back.
So yesterday, there's a video of Melvin Gordon in an interview, and he was asked what aspects from the current NFL running backs would he take to create his ultimate running back. So I thought it'd be kind of fun if we did that as well. So we're going to start with.
It's hard. It's kind of hard to do.
It is tough. It is tough to think about it. So I'll start, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start with the head, the vision, the IQ, all that.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with Le'Veon Bell as well. He's very patient.
Yeah.
He sees everything, and he's just patient. He's just smooth. All right. We're gonna go with hands next. Catching out of the backfield.
Uh-huh.
Now it's easy to.
It's hard.
It's easy to say Christian McCaffrey, but I think it's because of the volume. Who else did Kyle Allen throw to?
No one.
Or Cam Newton?
No one.
So I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara catching out of the backfield, because I feel like he's just as lethal as Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to go with strength. When I think of strength, I think of just power. So with that, I'm going to go with Derrick Henry. All right. So we got Le'Veon, Alvin, and Derrick Henry so far. Then we're going to go with speed, size. Whatever one's next. Size. Again, it's hard not to go with Derrick Henry. Dude's freaking massive. Yeah. Now you can see maybe that'll take a toll on his body later on, because he's so freaking huge and he's carrying the load so many times. But I'm going to go with Derrick Henry. Speed.
Yes, that's an interesting one.
Shoot, I didn't even think about this one.
I don't know. I couldn't figure it out either.
You know who looks fast to me, and I don't know if he actually is? Austin Eckler.
Yeah, he does look fast.
He just looks fast. So I'm going to go with Austin Eckler.
Okay.
And then we decided to go with hair, because why not? So I'm going to say Philip Lindsay.
That's a good
because
one.
His afro, when it's all picked out and stuff, it's freaking massive, and it's pretty cool.
Now, you didn't mention Melvin Gordon at all.
I didn't.
Isn't that weird? I mean, I'm not going to mention him either. It's just, it's kind of weird that he's taken that far of a step back. Because a couple of seasons ago, he was considered one of the best, and now it's like,
yeah, but it's like just different aspects of it. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't stand out in any particular thing, but he's just good.
Yeah. So interesting selections. I'm going to also go with Le'Veon Bell for the IQ and the head. He is just really smart at running. The guy finds the holes, and he exploits them. He's really patient too, which is, no one's patient in the NFL because it's too fast. But for somehow, Le'Veon Bell is patient, and it's actually really impressive to watch. Now, if Adam Gase would give him the ball more than 10 times a game, maybe we can all see that.
Okay, we don't need to hear about your fantasy woes still.
But it's still bull crap. Okay, so Le'Veon Bell is easily the smartest runner. I'm going with Le'Veon Bell. Then we go to hands, right?
Yeah, you can just go to whatever. Just go down your list, whatever you have.
So I'm going with the hands of Austin Eckler. He caught a lot of balls last year, and it was really good to watch because he was pretty darn good.
Was it because of your fantasy team? Are you going to go back to that again?
Yes. Austin Eckler, you watch the highlights of it. It was not like he was catching all these easy passes. Like Phillip Rivers would throw the rock to him 20 yards down the field, and there's a defender right there, and he would catch it. So he's got some of the best hands, I think, in the league. But it was close second with Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is pretty damn good with the ball catching. Then you go to I don't know any other way to say it. It's just
yeah.
Derrick Henry. Okay.
What is this for?
Strength. Derrick Henry is just massive, and he plows over people. He plows over everyone. So if you want an ultimate running back, you're definitely going to want that kind of strength out of him. Then I go to size. The size I'm looking, and it's kind of weird. Not many people probably think of this running back because he's had a down year. But Leonard Fournette, he's got a good size to him. I think he's not too tall, not too short. Kind of in the mid-range where he can still like get through those holes if they're, but he's not overly big because I think Derrick Henry at times is a little too big. He's easy to see, but Leonard Fournette can kind of squeeze through some tackles and stuff. So I think Leonard Fournette's a good size. Then you finally finish it up with speed. Like you said, Austin Eckler, who knows how fast he really is. He just looks fast.
Yeah.
But I'm probably going Christian McCaffrey on speed.
He's another guy that just looks fast on the screen. I don't know if it's because they have short little choppy steps and there's
but I'm going Christian McCaffrey. You can't leave Christian McCaffrey out of it. And he's really, really fast for a running back like him. But, And then finally, the hair. Who did you pick?
Philip Lindsay.
Okay, Philip Lindsay. I'm going Alvin Kamara. He's got a good style in his hair, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really think that. It's kind of hard to pick the hair of people.
It is. I just thought it'd be a fun little add-on because you want your player to look cool.
Yeah. So those are our ultimate running backs. Maybe in the future somebody will come along with all those attributes. Who knows?
So along with this, it almost kind of creates like a made-up player.
Yeah.
And going off of that, fantasy football is made up teams. So next we wanted to talk about a little bit of fantasy football. A big debate is what you should do with your first pick. Now, I'm not saying first overall because obviously you just usually pick the best running back or probably best player available at some points. But we're just talking first overall pick in the first round for yourself. What position would you recommend going with?
Right. And these are all based off of PPR NFL.
That's what we're going off of PPR.
Yeah. So it's tough because you obviously, it depends on where you are in the draft.
It does, and it depends on who's available. But say you have picked like 3.
Yeah, that's a tough position.
Like, what position are you going with? Not a specific player, just position.
Oh man, it's tough. Obviously, it's running back or wide receiver. I don't think anyone else needs to think about that. So if you're thinking about drafting a tight end with your 3rd overall pick, please don't. If you're thinking about drafting a quarterback, don't. Okay, it's between wide receiver and running back. I'm going to go with, because it's PPR, I think wide receiver. I think if you can get yourself a Michael Thomas or something like that, it's going to pay dividends.
You had Michael Thomas. I personally would go running back, but it'd have to be a pass catching back, like a Christian McCaffrey or an Alvin Kamara.
Saquon?
Because you have that ability to catch out of the backfield, along with all the rushing yards you're going to get, rushing touchdowns. In a PPR league, if you have a running back that can get you 4 or 5 catches a game,
plus
everything else he brings to the table, I feel like, what's breaking news? What's the breaking news?
The breaking news is, I don't know, Jordan's greatness.
Okay.
We all knew that.
I'd go with running back.
Yeah.
And that's something like I haven't been playing fantasy for a long, long time, but like my first couple fantasy drafts, like I look back on what I did, and I would take like a quarterback, and I wasn't in PPR or anything, but I was just like, ooh, Peyton Manning, and I would just pick him, and so like it's cool to see like how you like adapt and like strategize it more. So I'd go running back first round, and like we said, it depends on where you're picking, because obviously late first round, all the good running backs are gonna be gone.
Yeah.
That's usually how it pans out. So you do have like a DeAndre Hopkins or a Michael Thomas that you can go with. But I would go running back.
It's good solid points. The reason I say wide receiver is because there are, first of all, it's PPR. If you're getting a point per catch, I don't know who has the higher ceiling. It's typically wide receivers, though. I think they usually have like the highest games. If you're looking at, fantasy perspective, like they can score you the most amount of points week to week. Now they're going to have duds sometimes, but running backs are too. And I just think there's more potential for a wide receiver to get a touchdown than a running back. So I just pick based on that kind of too. Like who's going to score more often. If you get a really good wide receiver, you're probably going to get more scores.
And you didn't make the playoffs last year, right?
No.
Okay.
But that's because I traded everyone away. I learned my lesson.
I want to get to that real quick.
Of course you do.
What is your worst fantasy transaction that you have ever done?
Yes.
Because I think both of ours came this past season, and mine was like mine was like a two-part. No, we're just doing worst.
Please?
No.
I have a really good best one.
No, we don't care. Worst fantasy mishap. Go.
Drafting David Johnson. I'm just kidding. It's easily Michael Thomas. Trading Michael Thomas this season early to a scrub.
To a scrub for Le'Veon Bell. Keep in mind, Michael Thomas set the single-season reception record, and we're in a PPR league. So
it sucked.
Mine was kind of rough, and I still happened to make the playoffs. But my first pick was Alvin Kamara, who was a dud, and my second round pick was Antonio Brown.
Rough.
So that was tough. Speaking of Antonio Brown, he's a receiver.
Yes, he is.
We're going to talk about matchups. So we had some players leave teams.
We sure did. Hey, let me ask you this real quick, just before we go on to that. Okay. Let's say you got like pick number 10, 12-man league. And you got the top 2-3 wide receivers and running backs gone. Do you consider, because of the nature of how rare it is to get one of these guys, because we all know tight ends are very short-handed in this league. There's not many good tight ends anymore. There's 3 that I can name: Travis Kelce, Austin Hooper, and George Kittle. There's 3 tight ends. Do you consider, if you have one of the later draft picks in the first round, to get one of those guys? No?
No. And I think it's because of what you just said about how sparse they are. If you don't get one of those guys, it doesn't matter. So I would consider just waiting. I'd probably take a receiver at the back end.
Really?
Of the draft, yeah. Just because, like you said, there's like 3 tight ends. And if you don't have one of those 3, it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, it's nice to have them, but if you don't, everyone else is on the same playing field.
Yeah, you're just going to be...
You're going to be probably picking one up and dropping one out every other week. Yeah.
It's
waiver wire for the rest of the season.
Yeah. So.
But you had a good tight end, right?
Yeah, George.
And you didn't make the playoffs? Okay. So we're going to talk more about fantasy football.
Bastard.
Like I said, some players left teams.
They sure did.
And we're going to do matchups for positions. We just kind of randomly chose some players, and we want to compare them. Who's going to have the better fantasy season? Okay.
Uh-huh.
So we'll start with quarterbacks.
Yes.
So these are 2 veterans that left their respective teams.
This is also a tough segment because all these selections are pretty evenly matched. When you think
They're pretty crazy.
They're kind of hard to like pick one or the other.
It is.
So we start off, 2 veterans. Probably both will make the Hall of Fame. Phillip Rivers, right? You think he's Hall of Fame worthy?
That's a debate for another day.
Yeah, we should talk about that. I don't know if he is. Dude's won like 1 playoff game. Tom Brady on the right, obviously.
Why are you doing this like you're presenting a slideshow?
I don't know.
We're on a show. We're on a TV show.
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. So
who's going to have the better year, Phillip Rivers or Tom Brady?
It's Tom Brady, easily, for me.
Easily?
Very easily. Here's why. Tom Brady's going to have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and O.J. Howard. And, Cameron Brate, a little sprinkle of Cameron Brate in there. He's got 4 prime targets now. He had none last year. If you're going to tell me Julian Edelman's a good wide receiver, he's not. If you're going to tell me that Tom Brady had Mohamed Sanu was trash. He didn't do anything. He had no weapons. Now he's got 4 guys that easily can grab the ball. They're really elusive and their agility's great. So he easily has the better season. And to go along with that, Bruce Arians is not one of those coaches that's just going to make Tom Brady do stuff that he's not familiar with. He's going to tailor the whole system to him and what he's good at, which is check downs and, medium passes, which Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, they can adapt to that. So can O.J. Howard. I almost called him Orange Juice Howard. O.J. Howard.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If they're going to dink and dunk, how does that lead to fantasy success?
Because how do you think it means to dink and dunk? What do you mean by dink and dunk?
You said they're going to check down in intermediate passes.
Yeah.
That doesn't lead to fantasy football success.
Sure it does. Michael Thomas is a medium receiver. He doesn't catch many balls deep downfield, and
Drew Brees sure as hell airs it out more than Tom Brady does.
Does he?
Yes.
Maybe next season? Maybe Tom Brady airs it out a little more.
As he gets older?
The field's gonna get a lot bigger for Tom Brady.
I'm gonna go with.
Please don't.
I'm gonna go with Tom Brady as well. Solely on the fact that I think Phillip Rivers is... I don't know how much he has left. Because last year... Yeah, I'm going to go with Tom Brady just because of the weapons that are present with him. Who does Phillip Rivers have?
Yeah, T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah.
Who?
Which is... He's a good receiver. I picked him up in our draft. He was pretty good for me, but he was hurt a lot. So I'm going to go with Tom Brady as well. Do you want to go to running backs?
Yeah.
Let's go to running backs. So this is an intriguing matchup. Talked a little bit about both of these guys. We got Austin Eckler or Melvin Gordon. Who's going to have the better fantasy season?
You go ahead and start this one. I'm still conflicted.
I'm conflicted as well, and I'm going to give both of my views and then kind of pick one. Austin Eckler's the guy now, and you mentioned he can catch passes out of the backfield, deep down the field too. But Melvin Gordon has a 1-2 punch with Phillip Lindsay now. And Royce Freeman took touchdowns away from Phillip Lindsay.
True.
You don't think they're going to let Melvin Gordon do the same thing?
Right.
Phillip Lindsay will get you down there, or they'll both get you down there, but who's going to be there at the goal line? It's going to be Melvin Gordon.
It's true.
So, that being said, Austin Eckler will have the better fantasy season.
I tend to agree. There's only one thing I'm worried about with Austin Eckler, and that is that he's a smaller guy. And it didn't really show up last year, but he could be injury prone. He could be kind of like there's a running back I'm trying to think of that was really good in Minnesota for like a year, and then he went to the 49ers. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah. I'm kind of worried that Austin Eckler might be in the same boat because they're both really small, really elusive guys, like can catch the ball really well, but I'm just worried Austin Eckler might be a little more injury prone than we know. And if he's getting the majority of catches for an entire season and carries, obviously the wear and tear is going to be more. But I would agree Austin Eckler is the guy there. And if he can stay healthy, he's worth a lot, obviously. He's probably my keeper if anyone cared in NFL fantasy. So
Notice how it always goes back to his fantasy team, and he missed the playoffs. Next, we're going to do receivers. This is another intriguing matchup of former teammates.
I can't figure my head around this one.
Stephon Diggs goes to Buffalo, and Adam Thielen's still in Minnesota with no other receivers around him. Keep that in mind. Who else is going to catch the ball for the freaking Vikings?
This is just a moment. This is kind of a good one because I just want to trash on how Kirk Cousins is. I don't like Kirk Cousins. I think he's really... Why are they paying him still?
They extended him. I don't know why they did that.
He's not even good. The guy doesn't elevate your team, really. I mean, they made the playoffs because they had a really good team.
Has he won on Monday Night Football yet?
No.
He's like 0-8.
Yeah. So it's like this is a great duo just so you can trash on Kirk Cousins and how awful he is, really, when you think about it. But it's also really tough to pick.
This one's very tough. See, because what I'm thinking is, imagine Diggs down the field with Josh Allen's arm. Like, that's insane.
Oh, you're complimenting Josh Allen?
He has a good arm. He's not a good quarterback. And then you look at Adam Thielen, and as I just mentioned, no one else. There's no other receivers on the Vikings. Like, no one. I mean, you could obviously say maybe he'll get doubled now. Maybe all the defense will be focused on him, which is right. But it's like he's gonna catch a lot of passes this season.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with
It's tough.
fantasy impact. I'm gonna go with Adam Thielen.
All right. I'm picking. We got a little divide here. I'm picking Stephon Diggs. Okay. Stephon Diggs is. He would have been the guy if there was no Adam Thielen in Minnesota. Now, how that helps my argument, I don't know. We'll figure it out in a second. But you mentioned Adam Thielen. Who else is there in Minnesota? There's a decrepit, decaying Kyle Rudolph who scores 1-yard touchdowns. And
You're so mad because of fantasy.
that is what it's called. And then in Buffalo, you got a little bit more of a potent offense. I don't know if it's more potent, but there's more weapons available to Josh Allen. John Brown's going to stretch the field vertically. Is he not going to stretch the field vertically? John Brown? He's not.
I was saying that the Vikings' offense is pretty damn good. With Dalvin
Maybe
Cook.
not anymore.
With Dalvin Cook.
Without Stephon Diggs? Who else do they have?
No, because we're gonna get a little bit of an argument right here.
My argument exactly.
Adam Thielen was hurt for a lot of this season. That is the only time Diggs touched the football. Mm-hmm. So you can make the argument that Thielen's there and Diggs was a non-factor.
You could make
so
that
now
argument.
You have the same team minus Diggs, who was a non-factor when Thielen was in the lineup because Kirk Cousins did not throw to Stephon Diggs when Adam Thielen was healthy.
Probably because he was double whatever the hell, covered. That's right. Double covered. That's why Stephon Diggs was double covered. He was always the man that was getting...
Adam Thielen's better than Stephon Diggs.
How?
Because
he
he's
catches it more?
Better.
Just because you get more targets doesn't mean you're the better wide receiver.
You probably get more targets for a reason. Let's go to tight ends.
Hold on. I haven't made my... Stephon Diggs for me. Okay. He's going to have the better year.
Now, this is another, in my opinion, intriguing matchup. Because you have two second-year tight ends that played together at Iowa. T.J. Hawkinson was the one that got all the hype, but Noah Fant had the better season.
He did. This is another tough one, though.
This is a very tough one. I didn't decide.
Me neither.
This is chipped back here. On the spot, right now, who's going to have the better year? Noah Fant. Not being biased, but T.J. Hawkinson had one good game last year. And he was hurt a lot.
Yep.
And I just don't see this current Lions team, the way it's constructed, like doing much of anything. I feel like Stafford throws it to Kenny Galladay or Marvin Jones.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I don't know. It's tough because last year the Broncos weren't, with Drew Lock, they weren't that heavy of a run team, from what I can remember. Like, they like to pass it, obviously.
A little bit. It's because our offense was very conservative. And so they would pass it, but the play calls, the passing play calls were questionable, the way they were designed and all that. So
it's just, I think the Broncos might be a little more of a run-heavy team now that they added Melvin Gordon. So I think that makes it a little bit tougher for Noah Fant to get more consistent work. But that's like on the other end, T.J. Hawkinson was barely a part of their game plan as it was. He was injured a lot, though, which is a big deal. I would have to go with Noah Fant, too. He's a more proven tight end.
As of right now. And that's tough because it's only been a year. But
he's done more in, a lesser amount of time, I would say. But, very intriguing matchups that we got coming here. So if you got I don't know. It's really interesting, though.
Fantasy season is always a good time. So it's going to be fun. We're going to try to talk more about fantasy on this show with you guys.
Yeah.
Because we're people, too, this show's not even big enough to be saying that we're not people, but we're in your same shoes. So we just want to give our insight, which probably means nothing because
No, it does. Hey, if you have questions though,
don't ask him because he doesn't make the playoffs.
One season,
Ask
actually
me.
3 in a row, but
Well,
it's because of bullshit.
I think we're good here.
Yeah.
It's been another episode of the Big Honey Sports Podcast for G-Rock. I'm Big Sean. Y'all take care. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Flamingo, Vegas. Great hotel.